Yeah, so here's the Lelith Hersperax. And this thing goes right here. Boom. Just like that. In some ways, I feel like the model looks pretty great without it. It kind of like flows nicely, and I feel like it looks great without it, but we might as well slap it on. And I guess it makes it look a bit more interesting from the side, from like a profile view. But if you were to look at it head on, you really wouldn't notice it all that much, to be honest. So yeah, let's get started on this. Do I have sticky tack? Is this something that I might need to go and buy the next time we head to a dollar store? I'll need to probably buy some sticky tack, because this will be easier to paint if I affixed it to like a bottle cap and then put some sticky tack on. Anyways, let's just slap some paint on this baby. Okay. Yeah, like if I had something to hold this thing, it'd be a lot easier to handle. Hold on. Maybe I should glue this. No, I think it'd be harder to paint if it was glued onto the model. So, yep, we'll just stick with this for now. Night Trap. What do I think of the new Lelith? I think it looks great. Have you checked it out? It actually looks really nice. It just seems like the model has a better attention to anatomy. Like, the physique of the model, she looks like she's muscular and stuff, which is cool. That's awesome. But as far as the proportions of the model, where the muscles fall, and how she's posed, it all just seems to look more natural in like a realistic way, like rather than this model, which kind of seems like something that belongs in like a 90s era Image comic, right? Like her proportions are just really whack, and her pose is just so like, I don't even know what it's supposed to be like a ballerina stripper thing with her leg out like this and her back super arched. And yeah, and this again, I've mentioned this before, but this was not the original pose of the model. Her trident here was jutting out forward, and it had a very toy-like look to it. I feel like this pose now is a bit more flowing. I like this model, but I feel like the new model seems a little more realistic, at least. Looks cool. She has a superhero-like pose, like a three-point landing kind of thing, like a Black Widow. Alright, so I guess we just gotta wait till the paint dries on this before we flip it over. Yeah, there's still things that I need to fix on this model, so maybe we can do that in between waiting the paint to dry on this. Or let's be a little hasty and kind of. The paint does dry fairly fast. That's one nice thing about Citadel paint. Let's try and get in the frame here. And actually, I'm pretty sure there was another Lelith Hersperax model even before the latest one, but after the one that I'm currently painting. And that one looked pretty good too. That one, again, seemed to be a bit more realistically proportioned and stuff. A little more realistic in general. And I'm not really sure if that was a plastic model kit or a Citadel Finecast, a resin kit, or if it was metal. I have no idea. But that one looked okay too. the Dark Eldar range in general has gotten really good over time. When the models first came out, when they first made their appearance at the beginning of 3rd edition, the box set that came with Space Marines and Dark Eldar, I have to say that they didn't look that great. I still have some Dark Eldar models, and they're just sitting unpainted, and I'll never paint them, or if anything, I might tweak them and cut them up and kind of use them for conversion purposes and stuff. But yeah, it's unlikely that I'll just paint them straight up as Dark Eldar. They're gonna have to have something done to them, because as they are straight out the box, they're just so plain and boring to me. And that was the case for a lot of the Dark Eldar range at the time. They just didn't really excite me all that much, but nowadays they look great. There's a lot going on with them, and yeah, they really come into their own. They feel exactly like how they should, sort of like a dark mirror version of the Eldar, right? Okay, so I think that the paint is dried on this. Now we got to do the dark shading parts, I suppose. Oh, you hear that? It's a train. Let's get the window real quick. Okay, so what else? Gonna mix some of this Cantor blue to get the shading. And I haven't really thought about how to shade this thing properly, but we're just gonna kind of wing it, I guess. Maybe it'd be a good idea to kind of mark out where I want the light parts to be first. Sort of block that out. I don't know. Making like a pinkish color. Let's take a look at this. So, okay, let's use this brush. I think this brush will be better. Okay, so trying to figure out where the highlights are going to be. Come to a point at the tip. And then they'll probably start there again. This is why I like this brush. It's very long, and you don't run the risk of the paint getting into the base of the brush, the ferrule as it's called, because if you get paint stuck at the metal base, that's when your brush starts to split, right? But because the bristles are so long, the paint will rarely get that far down, right? Unless you really throw the paint onto this thing. Just doing a light job, and this isn't intended to be like the final product. We're just gonna kind of mark out where we want the highlights to go, kinda sorta. And then we gotta turn the model around, turn the piece around, and do it on the other side as well. And I think you see I'm trying to make some passes, and I kind of screwed that up, so I'll have to fix that. Okay, let's fix that. Okay. Flip it over. Do it again on the other side. And if you notice on this, I marked out the very edges of this piece with white, with a lighter color, like a grayish white, which is intended to be the blade, right? The blade part, if we imagine this thing as blades. I painted that like when you look at knives, right? Sort of the base of the knife is one darkish color, and then the actual bladed part is this white gleaming piece. That's something that I've marked out here with paint. However, that's not a detail that is sculpted onto this. That's something that you'll have to do with older models, or models that just aren't sculpted with the kind of detail that you're used to seeing these days. Is to kind of, you're going to have to go in there and put in a bit more detail yourself. Because if this was all just, imagine if this was all just red, I don't know, it just wouldn't look as good, I think. And I have to do that again here on this side. I tried to mark it out just a bit, but I'll have to do that a bit more. And that was something that I had to do even here, if you look. Marking out this side and this side. Again, this is something that I pretty much had to do and add this detail with paint, rather than something that was like kind of expressed through the sculpting and the contours or the angles of the blade. Yeah, that's just a weird thing where I was like, huh? I'm gonna have to, because if I didn't paint this, essentially she's wielding a gigantic slab of metal with no sharp edge. And like, take a look at from the side view, you can kind of see what I mean. See how flat it is? That's just how it is. Just one big flat piece of iron, steel. And again, yeah, it just looks a lot better. So if you ever see a model like that, you can kind of get in there and add more detail yourself. Just something like this. And it looks a lot better, I think, at least. Okay, so back to this. So again, today, I don't really have a plan, like as far as like every single little thing I'm going to do today. There's a lot that I'd like to do during this month of February, so we'll see if I actually manage to get around to doing it. That'll be nice. But at the same time, I'm not sure if I want to sort of broadcast all my like plans and hopes and dreams at the moment, because not that I don't want people to know what I'm doing, but it's just, I feel like for myself, if I kind of write down every single little plan and thing that I want to do, it's just going to be really annoying to me to look at that every day. And then that would probably make me not want to do it. So I did write it down like in my notebook just so that I don't forget. But you can kind of talk about it at least. I don't mind talking about it. It's just writing it down. And putting it as like a graphic maybe, because I was considering that, like making like a little image saying like goals for the month of February, this, and this. I was thinking about it, but then I thought, oh god, then I really have to do it, and I get really annoyed just looking at it. And you know, I want to leave my options open if I want to change my mind and stuff too. But anyways, so one thing when you're painting red and you're trying to highlight it is that you can easily start to get into the pink zone, where if you're just taking red and you add white, right? Boom, suddenly you're just painting with pink. And that's actually what's happening here at the top. It's just pink. And sometimes that's not what you want, right? Especially if you want like that deep, rich red. So one thing that I like to do is actually forego the highlighting process of red, because if you look at a lot of like red, if you imagine of red fabric or red velvet or something, that's that absorbs a lot of light, right? It's not really reflecting light. It's just kind of drinking in the light. So instead, to get that feeling of a rich red color across, I instead focus on shading red. Going down and going and shading it rather than highlighting it. And focus on the shadows. And let that base color of the red kind of do all the heavy lifting for the purposes of being the highlight, I guess. And that tends to work out pretty well for me. As you can see, I'm working with pink. I'm working with the pink. But this will be the extent of it, I think. I don't think I'll really try and do anything more higher than that. You know? And then I might actually go back and use like a glaze, a red or orange glaze to go back and bring down that pink look back to something along the lines of a reddish or an orange at least as a highlight. Just marking out the details. I'll attach this to the model just so it's easier to handle. I just want to do some of this stuff while this part is free from the model for now. Okay, let's do another little test. Yeah, I think at this point we can attach this to the model just so it's easier to handle. It might mean that it's a little awkward to reach some areas, but whatever. Just gonna work on this model for a little more. And sometimes with glue, when you pour it out, if you pour out glue straight from the nozzle to the model, it's gonna kind of just pour out in a big gush. And you don't want gushers. You don't want a gush. So I just kind of put a little dab of the glue onto something else. Let's see. I feel like this glue kind of got stuck. The lid. Okay. Let's see if that's good enough. I feel like it might not be, but let's see. See, how does it make a snug connection? How will I know it's really nicely glued on? The answer is I won't know. There you go. Guess we gotta kind of leave that be for a bit. Yeah, personally, I don't think this looks great. Like the... I think the model looked better without it, to be honest, but this is what it should be. I don't know, I feel like it's just in the way. Maybe that's because I've just been so used to it not being here. So now its presence is distracting me? I don't know. But that's kind of what it was supposed to have, so let's let that dry a bit. Let's not touch it for a sec, because I didn't put too much glue. I didn't want to run the risk of like frosting, any kind of glue frosting around, so I'm looking for, there we go, and maybe some brown. So while that's drying, let's take a look at the base. The base of the model. Let's do a little shaking of this paint. We're going to take some Mournfang Brown and Ushanti Bone. I'm going to take the base of the model and pay some attention to that, doing a little wash to ensure that there's a bit more detail on the ground there. To be honest, this base here is pretty boring. I'll fully admit that. It's not all that exciting, but at the same time, I didn't really want to spend too much time on the base because this is just something that, this is just a model that was voted on that I should work on next, but you know, I wasn't like super crazy about working on it, super excited. Let's take some ink here. This is acrylic artist ink, burnt sienna. What is this? Sepia. It's just sepia brown. And then we're going to take some Mournfang Brown. And we're going to dilute this quite a bit. I'm going to thin this out quite a bit. Let's see, is that good enough? How thin is this? It's pretty watery. And we're just going to go over the base here. So one thing that I'm looking to purchase as well in the very near future is a miniature holder, a painting handle. I've just been using like these cups, inexpensive methodology, inexpensive techniques, and they work fine. I actually just glue the model right on, right? Which is like, you know, it might make you think, what about when you want to take it off? But I feel pretty confident I can just snap the model off the cup, and any super glue bits I can kind of file or sand down away and paint the rim black again, and then we'll be good. That's the theory, at least. Because previously I'd been using, you know, sticky tack and stuff, but I found that it never fully sticks to the model. And so I'll be like working on a model, tipping it over here and there, and suddenly it just falls, right? And especially if you're working with metal miniatures, just simply touching it or whatever, it's going to result in paint chipping off. So very annoying. After a while, I was like, let me just glue this thing on so it's not going anywhere. And that method has worked out fine so far. So there it is. The other thing we need to do is take some of this Ushanti Bone, and we're gonna pick out the details of the rocks. The paint is still a little wet there, but we'll address that later. See. And because I have this inky wash here, I should probably use it before it all dries out. So we'll use it on some other stuff, some other miniatures before the paint dries out. Alright, so now we're going to pick out some of the rocks again. Probably pick out a few rocks in gray too. Just a few. I don't think it really needs a lot. The last thing I want to do is fully dry brush the base with this bone color. I don't think that'll look good. Just a few rocks. And I might even go back and wash it again. So here we are. These guys, they need a nice little wash too. Might as well do that. Test it out, see if it's thin enough. Yeah, it looks sufficiently thinned out. This is something you can actually do when you're applying a thin layer of watered down glue onto the basing material. You can kind of mix in a little brown ink and kind of save yourself some time that way. Brown ink or thinned down brown paint too, and save yourself some time doing it like that. I've definitely done that before. And the anti-grav cannon, the weapons platform also needs a bit of this as well, so we'll do that and then we'll take a little break actually, feeling the call of nature. Okay. And then this one here. This grab platform was not part of my original set of goals to finish in the month of January, but I definitely want to finish this in February. I think we can do that. Like I said, I have all these plans of things I want to do, but we'll see if we actually get around to doing all of them. I can talk about that a little later, maybe when I get back. Oh shit. Slippery fingers, slippery hand, and some ink got on the top of the model there. Let's flood the area. Flood the area with paint, with water, not paint, and then dry it off. There you go, looks fine now. That was not a finished area, so it's fine. Okay. Sheesh. Trash. I think that's fine for now. It's a little tricky to get all the little details there underneath. Sometimes I think to myself, well, if I can't see it, then no one's gonna see it, so it should be fine. But then I also think to myself, if I'm going to take a photo of this model and put it all on the internet, it's going to be a whole lot noticeable. Whatever kind of shortcut I take, it's just going to be that much more noticeable. When you're looking at a miniature blown up to 2 times its size, if you're looking at it, browsing it on a desktop or on your TV, I often browse the internet from my TV. So miniatures and pictures like that get blown up super huge. And it just looks so obvious, like any kind of shortcut or shitty little paint job that I did. So sometimes I have to think okay, let's try and do a little better job, because I know it's actually going to be noticeable. I think it's not going to be noticeable, but it actually will be. So there you go. Some bases done. Back to Lelith. And okay, tell you what, let's quickly do a swipe of this color, and we'll put her away for the time being, and we'll move on to something else. Taking some Underbelly Blue from Formula P3. This is one of my favorite colors, by the way. Underbelly Blue. I really like it. I've been using it a lot for all sorts of purposes, but I really started to fall in love with this color while I was working on my on some Seraphon models, or Lizardmen as they're called these days. And it's just a great color if you want to paint like grayish white lizard people. I'm sure that many people throughout time, have thought that to themselves, gosh, I need a great color to paint lizard people. Well, now you know what color to use. Many people throughout history have had that thought. So yeah, we need to do a couple of swipes, a couple of strokes of this white to really kind of bring it home, make it pronounced. We can do that. It's not a big deal. And there's this other issue where I feel like the little studs and spikes I've basically just dotted with white paint. But I think that if I really got in there with the detail and kind of contoured and shaped that spike with some gray and then black underneath to give it a better shape, I think that'll look really nice. So I think that's something I'd like to do. Hey Bacon, how's it going? Are you presently enjoying Chinese New Year festivities? Are you presently doing some kind of celebration? Night Trap, I think that's the color used for your Gundam. Oh yeah, your Gundam has this kind of grayish look. We also have another gray that you might want to use, and that's this one, Frostbite Gray. And if you look at the difference in colors, I'd say that Frostbite Gray has a more cooler tone to it, right? Kind of has a cool look to it. And cool as in the feeling of the color of cool. Not like cool as in Fonzie cool. And this Underbelly Blue has kind of like a warmer gray look to it, don't you think? A little warmer gray. So it's up to you. They're both pretty good. Hopefully there's actually enough for you to look at, to use for this model. If not, we can order some more. It's not a big deal. But yeah, because I mean, I'm going to use more of this eventually too. But yeah, we'll take a look and see if there's enough. Yeah, so, okay, let's take another pass. I keep on saying this. I'm going to take a break, but I feel like we should probably kind of wrap up this model as much as possible and move on to something else in the next segment. You know what I'm saying? I'll continue painting this model off stream, but you know, for the most part, it's done really. There's a lot of little details that I need to kind of improve upon and work on, but I mean, yeah, it's mostly done. And what I'll do is I'll take a picture and post it on my Instagram, and that'll be it. You know, that'll be the end cap of this saga, the saga of finishing up my challenges for the month of January, right? And that'll be nice. Pretty much finished on time, even though, yes, this is February 1st. I mean, going into today, I felt like this model was already 90% done anyway, so. I believe this track is for Fei Long. Not offensive at all. It's just a bunch of chop sake sounds. Bacon, currently out picking up stuff, trying to rush back home to spray the rest of your gunpla. Yeah. I remember you looked at the weather forecast like several days ahead, and you're like, it's Tuesday, baby. Tuesday's the day. That's the day I'm gonna spray, baby. So with the top coat from Tamiya, is it Tamiya? But anyways, does that have like a protective layer too? Like, does it also like act as a bit of a varnish to kind of protect your models from damage while being handled and stuff? I do have some varnish that I need to use, that I have to use for some of my models, or all of my models, but I just haven't gotten around to using the varnish yet. Yeah, today's a pretty nice day. I actually have my window open, or I had my window open just for a bit, which is nice. Haven't really had an opportunity to get the window open when the weather's so shitty. Okay. Let's see. Trying to get the right angle. Bacon, be back in a bit. Gonna do some driving. All right, take care, man. Drive safely. Busy day today for Bacon over here. Streaming, shopping for groceries, spraying models, Chinese New Year stuff. Busy, busy, busy. It's always when you get to that last few parts of a model that can really kind of take it to the next level, but at the same time, the model feels so complete anyways that you're just like, I could just leave it. Can't I just leave it alone? It's good enough, right? But yeah, it's always that, just the extra little bit that can kind of take your model to the next level. I struggle with that a lot. Like, good enough. Especially, you know, I'm mostly just painting for myself, right? I'm just doing this for my own satisfaction. So I don't really care if it looks like super amazing, right? Like, it just has to be something that I like personally. It just has to be good enough for me. But at the same time, like, it'll annoy me if I know that some part of a model could be better. It's kind of like a push and pull. So again, this is something where I feel like these blades, I could work on it a whole lot more, get it farther along, but let's put a cap on this one for now. Let's say that she's good enough at the moment, as I was saying, going on my spiel about if a model's good enough or not. Let's just put this away for now, and I'll work on it again some more off stream, and I'll post a finished picture on Instagram, and I'll just mention my Instagram real quick. That's at ReyoHobby, ReyoHobby. That's where I put up all my pictures of my progress on miniatures and stuff, and I've been actually having a lot of fun with taking pictures of my models as well. I recently started taking pictures of models with lights, using like LED lights to kind of get more shapes and colors and stuff like that, and it's really fun to work on. But yeah, so that's Lelith Hersperax. Another challenge from this month, from last month, complete. Alright, so let's put this away and I'll take a break. So I'll be right back.